They were once Hollywood's cutest young stars, but time, pressure, illness, addiction, and years away from the spotlight changed some of them beyond recognition. What really happened after their childhood fame disappeared? Subscribe to Hollywood Legends Remembered as we reveal 21 child celebrities and their shocking transformations in 2026. Britney Spears. Britney Spears began performing as a child on the Mickey Mouse Club, but her life changed completely when Baby One More Time became a worldwide hit in 1998. Still a teenager, she was quickly turned into the face of late 1990s pop music. Her song's dancing smile and carefully controlled image made her one of the most recognized young stars in the world. For years, Britney appeared energetic and confident, but the pressure behind that image kept growing. Her weight clothes, relationships, parenting, and private behavior were followed constantly by photographers and tabloids. After her divorce from Kevin Federline and a painful custody battle, the problems became public. In 2007, she shaved her head during a period of serious emotional distress. Instead of being given privacy, she was surrounded by cameras. Every difficult moment became another headline, photograph, or television joke. Were people worried about Britney, or were they simply entertained by her breakdown? In 2008, Britney was placed under a court-ordered conservatorship that controlled major parts of her finances and personal life. It lasted 13 years before ending in 2021, after a major public campaign supported her freedom. Britney looks and lives differently from the tightly managed teenager introduced to the public decades ago. But her changes cannot be separated from years of pressure control and constant judgment. Her story shows what can happen when a young performer becomes a product before she has the chance to become an adult. Edward Furlong. At 13, Edward Furlong had no professional acting experience when he was chosen to play John Connor in Terminator 2: Judgment Day. The film became one of the biggest releases of 1991, and Furlong suddenly found himself recognized around the world. His rebellious attitude and natural performance made him one of the decade's most promising young actors. He followed that success with roles in American History X Detroit Rock City and several independent films. But the stability expected from a growing career never arrived. Furlong struggled with substance abuse, unstable relationships, arrests, and repeated legal problems. Over time, those issues became more visible than his acting. His weight changed, his appearance looked increasingly worn, and major studios stopped seeing him as a reliable choice. How does a teenager handle fame when the adults around him cannot provide a stable life? Furlong's problems continued for years, costing him roles and damaging his reputation. At one point, he was removed from a planned return to the Terminator franchise because of his addiction. The young actor, once expected to become a major leading man, was instead appearing mostly in low-budget productions. In recent years, Furlong has spoken openly about becoming sober and trying to rebuild both his health and career. He may never return to the level of fame he had as John Connor, but audiences still remember the talent he showed before his personal life took control. His story shows how quickly childhood success can become difficult to manage when fame arrives before adulthood. Macaulay Culkin. By the time Home Alone reached theaters in 1990, Macaulay Culkin was only 10, yet he carried the movie. His timing and confidence turned Kevin McAllister into one of the most recognizable child characters of the decade. My Girl. The Page Master and Richie Rich followed, and Culkin became one of Hollywood's biggest young stars. The success came with problems no child could manage alone. His parents became involved in a bitter custody dispute that raised questions about control of his earnings. Worn down by work and family conflict, Culkin stepped away from acting while still a teenager. When he later appeared thinner and far removed from the polished image people remembered, tabloids filled the silence with stories about drugs and collapse. How much of that downfall was real, and how much was created by people who wanted another child star tragedy? Culkin faced a drug possession case in 2004, but later strongly denied the most extreme reports, claiming he was addicted to heroin. Over time, he returned on his own terms through acting, music, comedy, and public appearances. In 2023, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He no longer looks like Kevin McAllister, and he should not be expected to. Culkin survived childhood fame that could have controlled the rest of his life. Instead of chasing his old image, he built a quieter adulthood and decided when the public was allowed back in. Taylor Momsen. Most viewers first saw Taylor Momsen at 7 years old as Cindy Lou Who in How the Grinch Stole Christmas. A few years later, she returned to television as Jenny Humphrey on Gossip Girl, where her character changed from a quiet outsider into a rebellious teenager. Momsen's public image was changing just as quickly. The blonde child actress began appearing in dark makeup, leather-heavy boots, and stage clothes that looked nothing like the polished style people expected from a young television star. Some assumed she was acting out or trying to shock people. In reality, Momsen had decided that music mattered more to her than acting. She formed The Pretty Reckless and began touring while still connected to Gossip Girl. Was this a child star losing control or a young woman finally choosing her own direction? By 2011, Momsen had largely left acting behind. The change was dramatic, but it was not a collapse. She became the lead singer and songwriter of a successful rock band, releasing albums, touring internationally, and earning a place in modern hard rock. Taylor Momsen looks almost nothing like Cindy Lou Who today, but that difference is the point. She did not spend adulthood trying to preserve a childhood image. She rejected the career chosen for her, built another one, and made it clear that the darker style was not a costume. It was the life she wanted. Lark Voorhees. Lisa Turtle was one of the most stylish students at Bayside High. On Saved by the Bell, Lark Voorhees played her with confidence, sharp humor, and a strong sense of fashion. Young viewers copied her clothes, while the show made Voorhees one of the most familiar black actresses on teenage television in the early 1990s. After the series ended, she appeared in several television shows and music videos, but her career gradually became quieter. Years later, rare public appearances drew harsh attention online. People focused on her makeup, facial expressions, and the fact that she no longer looked exactly like the teenager they remembered. Rumors about cosmetic procedures and substance abuse spread without reliable proof. Why was the public so quick to judge her appearance before hearing what she was going through? In 2020, Voorhees spoke publicly about being diagnosed with schizoaffective thought disorder. She also admitted that being left out of the original announcement for the Saved by the Bell reboot had hurt her. The producers later brought her back, allowing Lisa Turtle to return and giving Voorhees a chance to reconnect with the role that had made her famous. Her life after Bayside was clearly more difficult than fans understood, but describing her as ruined or unrecognizable misses the real story. Lark Voorhees faced a serious mental health condition under public scrutiny, while strangers treated every photograph as evidence of a downfall. She remains remembered not for those cruel headlines, but for the confidence and style she brought to a generation of television viewers. Frankie Muniz. Frankie Muniz walked away from Hollywood while many actors were still trying to get in. As the star of Malcolm in the Middle, he spent 7 seasons playing a gifted teenager trapped in a loud, unpredictable family. The role earned major award nominations and made him one of the most recognizable young actors of the early 2000s. He also led films such as Big Fat Liar and Agent Cody Banks. Instead of spending adulthood chasing the same fame, Muniz changed direction. He played drums in a band, ran businesses, and returned to auto racing. That choice confused people who assumed his acting career had failed. In reality, he had the freedom to try something different. Did Frankie Muniz disappear from Hollywood? Or did he simply stop letting Hollywood choose his life? For years, reports claimed that concussions and mini-strokes had erased most of his memories from Malcolm in the Middle. Muniz has since said that version was exaggerated. He admits his memory is poor and that several concussions probably did not help, but he does not have amnesia or forget his entire childhood career. Today, Muniz races full-time in the NASCAR Truck Series and has returned for the Malcolm in the Middle revival. He looks different from the teenage Malcolm because more than 2 decades have passed. The bigger change is that he built a life outside the role that once defined him. Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman was everywhere in the 1980s. He appeared in Gremlins, The Goonies, Stand By Me, and The Lost Boys, becoming one of the most recognizable young actors of his generation. His partnership with Corey Haim made them known as the Two Coreys. Success did not give Feldman a stable childhood. He has said that adults around him exploited him and that he suffered abuse while working in entertainment. By his late teens, drug use and arrests were damaging his health and career. In 1990, he faced several drug-related cases and entered rehabilitation. The boy audiences remembered from family films was now making headlines for very different reasons. How much of Corey Feldman's downfall began before he was old enough to protect himself? Feldman later said he overcame a heroin addiction, but rebuilding his reputation was harder. Major roles became rare, while his music performances, public behavior, and changing style often attracted ridicule. At the same time, he became one of Hollywood's most persistent voices, speaking about the treatment of child performers and alleged abuse inside the industry. He continued acting, recording music, and meeting fans connected to his 1980s films. He looks far removed from the teenager in The Goonies, but the real change goes deeper than appearance. His story is about a child star who reached the top early, lost control young, and spent decades trying to explain what the public never saw. Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf first became familiar to young viewers as Louis Stevens on Disney Channel's Even Stevens. He was funny, restless, and different from the polished child stars around him. That energy later carried him into major films such as Disturbia Transformers and Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, making him one of Hollywood's most visible young actors. But success did not bring stability. As his fame grew, LaBeouf's off-screen behavior became harder to ignore. Arrests, public outbursts, alcohol problems, and unpredictable appearances began to compete with his acting work. His look also changed from the clean-cut Disney teenager to a more rugged adult with tattoos, facial hair, and a style that often reflected the disorder in his personal life. Was Shia changing for himself, or reacting to years of pressure he never learned to manage? LaBeouf later entered treatment and spoke openly about childhood trauma addiction and the damage behind some of his behavior. He also turned parts of that history into Honey Boy, a film inspired by his own early life. Performances in Fury, American Honey, and The Peanut Butter Falcon reminded audiences that the talent was still there, even when controversy threatened to bury it. Shia LaBeouf's transformation is not simply about appearance. It is about a child performer who became famous before he had the tools to handle adulthood, then spent years dealing with the consequences in public. Raven-Symoné. She joined The Cosby Show at 3, later appeared on Hangin' with Mr. Cooper, and then became the center of Disney Channel's That's So Raven. Her comedy confidence and quick delivery made Raven Baxter one of the network's most popular characters. Behind that success, adults were constantly judging her body. Raven later said the criticism began when she was still a child. Producers, media outlets, and viewers discussed her weight as if it mattered more than her talent. As she grew older, every haircut, outfit, and physical change became another reason for strangers to comment. Was Raven really changing too much, or were people refusing to let her grow up? After her Disney years, she stopped trying to protect the cheerful image audiences expected. She experimented with bold hairstyles, spoke openly about her opinions, and joined The View, where some of her comments caused controversy. She did not always say what people wanted to hear, but she was no longer playing the harmless child star. Raven later returned to Disney as both the star and an executive producer of Raven's Home. Her adult appearance is different from the little girl viewers remember, but that is normal. The more important transformation was learning to control her own image after years of being told how she should look, speak, and behave. Amanda Bynes. Amanda Bynes surprised fans in 2010 when she announced that she was done with acting. Only a few years earlier, she had been one of Nickelodeon's biggest young stars through All That and The Amanda Show, then moved into films such as Big Fat Liar, She's the Man, Hairspray, and Easy A. Her comic timing made her look confident, but she later said body image problems and Adderall abuse had affected her badly. After leaving Hollywood, the situation became more public. There were arrests, erratic social media posts, and several incidents that raised serious concerns about her health. In 2013, her mother was given legal control over major parts of her life through a conservatorship. The cheerful performer audiences remembered was now being photographed during a very difficult period, and the coverage was often cruel. Was the public watching someone fall apart or helping make the fall worse? Bynes later stepped away from entertainment and studied fashion. In 2022, a judge ended the conservatorship after nearly 9 years with support from her parents. The following year brought another mental health crisis and hospital care showing that recovery was not simple or complete. Amanda Bynes looks and lives differently from the Nickelodeon star people remember. That change came through fame, illness, legal trouble, and years spent rebuilding in private. Her story is not a neat comeback, but it is also not the tabloid ending many people once expected. Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp was already in his 20s when 21 Jump Street turned him into a teen idol. The series gave him a clean-cut image he quickly grew tired of, and he spent the 1990s choosing stranger, darker roles in films such as Edward Scissorhands, Ed Wood, and Donnie Brasco. Then Captain Jack Sparrow made him one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Away from the screen, Depp's life became much less controlled. Years of drinking, drug use, expensive habits, and troubled relationships were discussed openly in interviews and later in court. His public appearance also changed. The polished young actor became a more rugged figure with fluctuating weight, longer hair, and a style that reflected years of hard living. Did Johnny Depp change because of time? Or because his private life finally caught up with him? His marriage to Amber Heard led to years of accusations, lawsuits, and public division. Depp lost a 2020 libel case in Britain. In 2022, a Virginia jury largely ruled in his favor in a separate defamation trial, while also awarding Heard damages on one counterclaim. The courtroom battle damaged both reputations, but Depp began working again. Jean Dubarry opened the 2023 Cannes Film Festival, placing him back on a major red carpet. He no longer resembles the young officer from 21 Jump Street, but his career has survived changes that once seemed likely to end it. Haley Joel Osment. One line made Haley Joel Osment unforgettable. I See Dead People. His performance in The Sixth Sense earned him an Oscar nomination at only 11 and turned him into one of the most famous child actors of the 1990s. He followed it with Pay It Forward, AI, Artificial Intelligence, and Secondhand Lions. When Osment grew older, the leading roles slowed down. His fuller face, beard, and adult appearance surprised viewers who still pictured the frightened boy beside Bruce Willis. Some assumed he had disappeared or failed. In reality, he studied acting at New York University and continued working in television independent films, comedy, and voice acting, including the Kingdom Hearts games. Did Hollywood lose interest in him, or did audiences simply refuse to accept that he had grown up? His private life has included real trouble. In 2006, after a car crash, Osment pleaded no contest to drunk driving and misdemeanor drug possession. In April 2025, he was arrested in California on suspicion of public intoxication and cocaine possession. A judge later placed him in a diversion program requiring Alcoholics Anonymous meetings and therapy, with the charges set to be dismissed if he completed the conditions. Haley Joel Osment never became the traditional adult leading man many expected. But he did not vanish. He built a quieter career, often playing unusual supporting characters instead of trying to recreate the child star image that first made him famous. Angus T. Jones. In 2012, Angus T. Jones shocked television viewers by telling them to stop watching 2.5 Men. He called the show filth and said its adult humor conflicted with his religious beliefs. The comments were especially surprising because Jones had played Jake Harper for nearly a decade and had become one of television's highest-paid young actors. Jones joined the sitcom at age 10. His confused expressions, simple observations, and strong comic timing made Jake a major part of the show's success. But as the character grew older, the stories became more sexual and uncomfortable for the young actor. After his public criticism, Jones apologized to the cast and crew, though he did not completely take back his concerns. Did Angus destroy his career, or did he finally say what he had been feeling for years? He left regular acting, attended the University of Colorado Boulder, and spent time working outside entertainment. In a later interview, Jones admitted that his thinking had become overly negative, and doomsday, suggesting that he viewed the situation differently as he matured. His long hair, beard, and casual appearance now make him look far removed from the clean-cut boy who played Jake. But that change was not evidence of collapse. Jones chose privacy instead of trying to remain a sitcom child forever. In 2023, he briefly returned to television in Chuck Lorre's series Bookie. The cameo showed that the old conflict had softened, even though Jones still appears more comfortable living away from Hollywood. Danny Bonaduce. Danny Bonaduce was 10 when he joined the Partridge family as Danny Partridge, the sharp-tongued redhead who often stole scenes from the adults around him. The sitcom ran from 1970 to 1974 and made him instantly recognizable, but the success did not lead to an easy adult life. After the show ended, steady acting work became harder to find. Bonaduce later spoke openly about drug and alcohol addiction, arrests, anger, and a period when he lived in his car. His private problems became part of his public identity, especially when Breaking Bonaduce showed his marriage and self-destructive behavior with little protection from the cameras. How much damage began after the fame ended, and how much had already started at home. Bonaduce eventually found a second career in radio, where his blunt humor and willingness to discuss his failures worked in his favor. He hosted shows in several cities and spent more than a decade on Seattle radio. Then his health changed everything again. After serious problems with walking and balance, he was diagnosed with normal pressure hydrocephalus and underwent brain surgery in 2023. Later that year, he retired from radio. Danny Bonaduce looks far removed from the boy on the Partridge family, but age is only part of the story. Addiction, unstable years, public breakdowns, and major illness all left their mark. He survived a childhood career that did not prepare him for what came next. Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser was one of the most dependable leading men of the 1990s. He moved easily between comedy and action in films such as Encino Man, George of the Jungle, and The Mummy. As Rick O'Connell, he looked athletic, confident, and ready for every stunt. Then after years of major releases, he seemed to disappear. The reason was not one simple failure. Fraser said the physical work had seriously damaged his body, leading to repeated surgeries on his back, knee, and vocal cords. He was also dealing with divorce, the death of his mother, depression, and the aftermath of an alleged 2003 assault by former Hollywood Foreign Press Association President Philip Burke, who disputed Fraser's account. How much can one person take before stepping away becomes the only option. As the years passed, Fraser gained weight and looked different from the action star audiences remembered. Some people mocked him without knowing about the pain, medical treatment, and personal losses behind the change. His career slowed, but his ability did not disappear. Fraser returned through television and smaller roles before taking the lead in The Whale. In 2023, that performance earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor. His comeback was not about restoring his old appearance. It proved that the actor people had dismissed still had serious work left in him. Josh Saviano. For years, one of the strangest rumors on the early internet claimed that Josh Saviano had grown up to become Marilyn Manson. It was completely false, but the story became almost as well known as his acting career. Saviano played Paul Pfeiffer, Kevin Arnold's intelligent and awkward best friend on The Wonder Years. With his glasses, careful manner, and nervous personality, Paul became an important part of the series from 1988 to 1993. Viewers watched him grow from a schoolboy into a teenager, then expected Saviano to continue acting after the show ended. Instead, he walked away. Did Josh Saviano disappear? Or did he simply choose a life Hollywood found less interesting? Saviano attended Yale University and later earned a law degree from the Benjamin N. Cardozo School of Law. He became an attorney and eventually worked with businesses and entertainment clients. His adult appearance changed considerably from the thin teenager viewers remembered, which helped keep the Marilyn Manson rumor alive, even though the two men had no connection. Saviano did return briefly to television. From 2014 to 2016, he appeared in several episodes of Law and Order Special Victims Unit, appropriately playing a lawyer. Unlike many former child stars in this story, Josh Saviano did not leave because of addiction scandal or professional collapse. He made a practical decision, built another career, and refused to spend adulthood trying to remain Paul Pfeiffer. Jeremy Miller. Jeremy Miller became a familiar face as Ben Seaver on Growing Pains, the mischievous youngest son in a family sitcom that ran from 1985 to 1992. His comic timing made him popular, but once the show ended, steady television work disappeared. Miller later admitted that alcohol became a serious problem. He said he began binge drinking after Growing Pains and eventually reached a point where blackouts and daily dependence frightened his family. Acting jobs became less dependable, and he tried other work, including cooking and catering. When the 2008 financial crisis destroyed his catering business, he came close to homelessness. Former co-stars Alan Thicke and Kirk Cameron helped him find work and stay on his feet. How difficult is it to rebuild when the role everyone remembers no longer pays the bills? Miller sought treatment several times before saying a naltrexone implant helped reduce his urge to drink. He later spoke publicly about addiction and worked as an advocate for people trying to recover. He also continued making occasional appearances connected to Growing Pains and accepted smaller acting projects. Today, Jeremy Miller looks different from the boy who played Ben Seaver, but that change is not simply about age. Years of alcoholism, financial trouble, and the struggle to create a life after childhood fame shaped him. His career never reached the level many expected, but he survived a period that nearly left him with nothing. Taron Noah Smith. The youngest Taylor son disappeared from television almost as soon as Home Improvement ended. Taron Noah Smith had played Mark Taylor from age 7 until the series finished in 1999. Unlike his television brothers, he did not chase more auditions. At 16, he decided acting was no longer the life he wanted. His first years away from Hollywood were not quiet. Smith fought with his parents over control of the money he had earned as a child actor, accusing them of mishandling his trust fund. He later said they had actually been trying to protect him, and the family eventually repaired the relationship. At 17, Smith married Heidi Van Pelt, who was 16 years older than him. The age difference drew heavy media attention. Together, they started a vegan food business, but the marriage and business partnership ended several years later. Did leaving Hollywood give Taron freedom or simply replace one set of problems with another? In 2012, Smith pleaded guilty to drug possession and no contest to a reduced alcohol-related driving charge. He received probation, a fine, and diversion programs. The case briefly brought him back into the headlines, but he still showed no interest in rebuilding an acting career. Today, Smith looks very different from the quiet boy on Home Improvement with long hair and a beard. More importantly, he has built a life outside entertainment, including technical work and teaching people how to pilot small submarines. His story is less about a failed child star than someone who decided early that television fame was not worth keeping. Sean Astin. In 1985, Sean Astin appeared as Mikey Walsh in The Goonies. The adventure film became a favorite for generations, and Mikey's determination made Astin one of the most recognizable young actors of the decade. But unlike many child stars, he continued finding serious work as he grew older. In 1993, Astin played Daniel Rudy Ruettiger in Rudy: The True Story of a Young Man Trying to Earn a Place on the Notre Dame football team. The role proved he could carry a film without depending on childhood nostalgia. His biggest adult success came years later when he played Samwise Gamgee in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Sam's loyalty and courage made the character a favorite with audiences around the world. Which role do you remember first, Mikey Rudy or Sam? Astin's appearance changed naturally with age. He gained weight, developed a more mature look, and no longer resembled the boy from the Goonies. But those changes did not stop him from working. He continued taking roles in films, television, animation, and voice acting. A younger generation later discovered him as Bob Newby in Stranger Things. The role was smaller than Samwise Gamgee, but viewers quickly connected with the character. Sean Astin did not remain frozen in the image that made him famous. He became a dependable character actor whose work reached several generations. Mary-Kate Olsen and Ashley Olsen. For 8 seasons, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen shared the role of Michelle Tanner on Full House. They began as babies, but by the 1990s they had become a business of their own. Movies, television specials, books, clothing, and home videos turned the twins into 2 of the most successful child stars in America. The public was used to seeing them together dressed alike and smiling on command. As they entered adulthood, that image became harder to maintain. Mary-Kate faced serious health concerns and entered treatment for an eating disorder in 2004. Both sisters also dealt with constant rumors about their weight, private lives, and changing appearance. Were people interested in who they became or only disappointed that they no longer looked like the girls from Full House? Instead of trying to remain actresses, Mary-Kate and Ashley moved into fashion. They founded the Row Building, a serious luxury label far removed from the children's products that once carried their names. Their oversized clothing, darker style, and guarded public behavior created a sharp contrast with their cheerful television image. The sisters now rarely give interviews and have largely left acting behind. Their faces and personal style have changed, but the bigger transformation was professional. They stopped being products managed for young audiences and became businesswomen who decided how much of themselves the public could see. Dustin Diamond. After Saved by the Bell ended, Dustin Diamond had trouble separating himself from Screech Powers. He had played the awkward, loyal student for more than a decade, beginning with Good Morning Miss Bliss and continuing through several versions of the series. The role made him famous, but it also limited the way producers and audiences saw him. Acting opportunities became less reliable, and Diamond turned to reality television, stand-up comedy, and controversial projects to earn money. In 2006, an adult video was released using his name, though he later said a body double appeared in the explicit scenes. His 2009 tell-all book Behind the Bell damaged his relationship with former castmates. Diamond later claimed that the ghostwriter had exaggerated or invented parts of it. How far would someone go to escape a character that had followed him since childhood? His problems became more serious in 2014 after a Wisconsin bar fight. Diamond was convicted of carrying a concealed weapon and disorderly conduct, then served about 3 months in jail. The case further damaged a reputation already shaped by years of bad headlines. In early 2021, Diamond was diagnosed with stage 4 small cell carcinoma. He died only weeks later at age 44. Whatever mistakes he made after Saved by the Bell, his death was sudden and far too early. Many viewers still remember Screech with affection, even though the man behind the character spent much of adulthood trying to move beyond him.